Here are the top stories for today, June 10, 2021. The government's vaccination drive gets another boost as 1 million more Sinovac jabs arrive in the country. Over 2 million Pfizer vaccines are also expected to arrive later today. No walk-ins. The country's vaccine czar says LGUs must come up with a master list of vaccinees, as allowing walk-ins may lead to a violation of physical distancing rules in vaccination sites. 46 years of strong ties, President Rodrigo Duterte expresses appreciation over China's timely help amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And Japan stands firm on its decision to push through with the hosting of the Olympics as it races against time to stem a surge in COVID-19 cases. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The country's COVID-19 vaccination campaign received an additional boost with the arrival of 1 million doses of China's Sinovac vaccines on Thursday. National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer and Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. thanked the management of Sinovac and China for their commitment to deliver the vaccines on time. The 1 million doses of Sinovac jabs are allocated for NCR Plus 8 areas, which include Metro Manila, Batangas, Cavite, Laguna, Rizal, Bulacan, Pampanga, Metro Cebu, and Metro Davao. Galvez said another 1.5 million Sinovac vaccines are set to arrive in the country on June 17. Aside from Sinovac, the COVAX facility sends over 2.2 million doses of Pfizer vaccines. The Pfizer jabs are allocated for health workers, senior citizens, and people with comorbidities. Moreover, the government also expects the arrival of 100,000 doses of Sputnik V tomorrow. Galvez said more than 11 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines are expected to be delivered in the country within the month, while another 11 million doses will arrive in July and 17 million doses in August. The arrival of the jabs today marked the biggest single-day delivery of COVID-19 jabs in the country. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said local government units should have a master list of vaccinees and not allow walk-ins to avoid overcrowding in the vaccination sites. He said walk-ins will endanger social distancing protocols. Galvez said the vaccination hubs run by LGUs are capable of vaccinating at an accelerated rate if they are provided with sufficient vaccine supplies. He advised local officials to always implement the minimum health protocols, as he does not want it to become a super spreader event. The Octa Research Group considers Davao City and Western Visayas as among the epicenters of COVID-19 cases. On Monday, Octa Research reported cases increased in Davao City, South Cotabato, General Santos, Cotabato City, and Western Visayas. Octa Research Fellow Professor Guido David said they consider these areas as the epicenter of the disease, noting that the hospital utilization rate is already high. David said the increase in the number of cases, especially in Davao City, is concerning and needs to be slowed down. He also noted that cases in Metro Manila are on a decline and hospitals are no longer congested. Meanwhile, the Department of Health said Davao City cannot be considered as epicenter of COVID-19 cases, as the term epicenter refers to an area as the source of the infection. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere said the department discourages the use of the term epicenter in describing the rise of cases in an area, as these areas are not the origin of the COVID-19 virus. However, she said the Department of Health is currently monitoring the situation in Southern City due to the increasing number of COVID-19 cases. For its part, the Davao City government ramps up its inoculation drive. The local government said it has so far vaccinated some 102,357 individuals as of June 8. With the alarming rise in COVID-19 cases, local officials strongly discourage walk-ins at any vaccination site. Local government officials and health experts continuously work to inoculate the larger population in their areas. In the Visayas, where the COVID-19 surge is reported, authorities ensure that their vaccination rate is still ongoing at a faster phase. The details from Chris Crismundo.
In Central Visayas, a total of 245,503 individuals have been inoculated with COVID-19 vaccines since March. Of the number, more than 105,000 vaccinees are medical frontliners. DOH 7 Chief Pathologist Dr. Mary Jean Loreche said this is 79.5% of the population under the A1 priority list of the region. Meanwhile, some 39,232 doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been administered to Bacolod residents as of June 8. Mayor Evelio Leonardia earlier requested the national government to allocate more vaccines for Bacolod amid the continued surge in local cases. In response, vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. assures that enough doses will be given to inoculate 100% of Bacolod's adult population. In Dumaguete, more than 1,300 senior citizens and frontliners were vaccinated as of June 1. Vaccination is ongoing as the city recently received 10,000 vials of Sinovac vaccines from the national government. Assistant Provincial Health Officer Dr. Leland Estacion has warned local officials that she would recall the allocated vaccines if the inoculation rollout in their areas would fail to move at a faster rate. Estacion said it is critical for people to be vaccinated at the earliest time possible as Negros Oriental is experiencing a surge in coronavirus cases. And in the Ilocos region, the DOH reports that they have already inoculated 78,211 frontline workers. 46,384 of them are fully vaccinated. Senior citizens who received their first dose totaled to 73,302, while 8,083 were fully inoculated. Moreover, 20,311 persons with comorbidities also received the jobs as of June 6. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
4 more tourists bound for Boracay Island were caught with fake RT-PCR tests and QR codes at the Tabon port in Caticlan. Authorities said the 4 who were from the National Capital Region are currently on quarantine in Calibo to be subjected to swab testing. Governor Florencio Miraflores earlier signed an executive order placing Aklan under a modified general community quarantine with heightened restrictions. As such, only essentials within Aklan are allowed and movement from one barangay to barangay is being monitored by the Barangay Health Emergency Response Teams and Barangay Tanod. Meanwhile, stubborn COVID-19 positive patients and their close contacts in Cagayan de Oro may face charges for not cooperating with the local government unit. This as some COVID-19 patients and their close contacts refuse to be extracted from their houses, going to the city's patient care centers. Dr. Lorraine Neri of the City Health Office said their team could still manage to convince the involved individuals, but it takes time and effort. Neri assured that they are closely monitoring all cases in isolation facilities. Still to come, the Philippines and China marks 46 years of diplomatic ties. And the armed forces of the Philippines and UN bodies in the country join hands in protecting children during armed conflict. Details ahead. This is the PNA Newsroom. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
You are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal
to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic, because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. The Philippines and China are headed towards deeper bilateral ties in commemoration of the 46th year of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Marita Mawahe has the story.
President Rodrigo Duterte expressed gratitude to China's timely acts of helping the Philippines recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. In a message relayed to Chinese President Xi Jinping, the president said the Philippines deeply values its friendship with China that continues to prosper 46 years after the establishment of the two countries' diplomatic relations on June 9, 1975. To help the Philippines fight COVID-19, China has donated 1 million doses of Sinovac vaccines. It also donated 1,000 vials of Sinopharm vaccine, in addition to the 10,000 vials expected to be donated to the Presidential Security Group. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. meanwhile said the 46 years of bilateral ties between the Philippines and China can be considered as unbreakable ties between the Filipino and Chinese people. During a virtual conference hosted by the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, Locsin said he is confident that the abiding trust and goodwill of our countries will bear much fruit in the years ahead. Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi meanwhile vowed to work with Locsin to fully implement the consensus reached between the two leaders, particularly on pandemic response. For Chinese Ambassador Wang Xilian, the improved ties between Manila and Beijing is a shift to a relationship of comprehensive strategic cooperation. He said the two nations could forge an even closer relations and that true friendship would withstand the test of time. The Philippines meanwhile appealed to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and China to fully support and make the disputed South China Sea a sea of peace, security, stability, and prosperity. In a statement, the Department of Foreign Affairs said both the bloc and China reiterated commitment for the full implementation of the 2002 Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, is strengthening the protection of children in situations of armed conflict. The AFP is also committed to prevent, end, and respond to child rights violations. The commitment is contained in a strategic plan signed yesterday by AFP Chief of Staff General Cirilito Sobejana and representatives of United Nations bodies in the Philippines. The strategic plan to prevent and respond to grave child rights violations in situations of armed conflict outlines the undertakings, commitment, benchmarks, and activities for the AFP to perform and fully comply with its obligations under international human rights and humanitarian laws. General Sobejana said that the AFP shall ensure that professionalism, discipline, and respect are nurtured and sustained in the conduct of the military daily operations. The Police Regional Office in Caraga Region on Wednesday announced the filing of criminal charges against 8 new People's Army rebels for using banned anti-personnel mines. PRO3 Director Brigadier General Romeo Karamat said leaders and members of Guerrilla Front 16 of the Northeastern Mindanao Regional Committee are facing charges of murder, multiple frustrated murder, and multiple attempted murder. They were also charged with violation of the provisions of Republic Act Number 9851 for violating international humanitarian law, genocide, and other crimes against humanity. The NPA guerrillas were charged following a landmine attack on soldiers of the 29th Infantry Battalion in Sitio Ilong-Ilong, Barangay Santiago, Agusan del Norte on May 31, 2021. The rebels triggered 4 APMs that killed 1 soldier and injured 4 others. Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines said the CPP-NPA is complicit in planning and directing the landmine attack that killed footballer Keith Absalon and his cousin Nolven in Masbate City last June 6. This after the communist terrorist group issued an apology to the family of the victims and expressed willingness to indemnify them for their losses. AFP spokesperson Marine Major General Edgar Arevalo said the communist terrorists committed and admitted similar crimes in the past, but they have not done anything but empty promises or claims of indemnification. The Department of National Defense also dismissed claims by the CPP-NPA that the incident is a tactical error on their part. The DND said the use of landmines is actually a matter of procedure for the CPP-NPA for the sake of causing destruction. In our business news, the Bureau of Internal Revenue is set to file criminal charges and assess taxes against the persons behind the manufacture of some 544 million pesos worth of counterfeit cigarette tax stamps seized recently in Bacolod City. The 15 million pieces of fake tax stamps were confiscated last May 4 at a warehouse in Barangay Tangub in Bacolod City, along with various materials for cigarette production. The BIR strike team, along with personnel from the Philippine Economic Zone Authority, also seized about 3,000 cigarette master cases from the facility of GB Global Express Incorporated at the Angeles Industrial Park in Pampanga. GB Global personnel claimed they were manufactured as part of a dry run of its facilities. The BIR had padlocked 83 establishments and collected 737 million pesos in April 2021 alone under its Oplan Candado program. Up next, heads up travelers, some Pangasinan towns remain closed to those from NCR+. And no delays, Japan vows to push through with hosting of the Tokyo Olympics next month. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom. You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. 4 local government units in the province of Pangasinan remain closed to travelers from the NCR Plus bubble in a bid to control the spread of COVID-19 in their areas. The Pangasinan Provincial Tourism and Cultural Affairs Office said these are Dagupan City and the towns of Manaoag, Bautista, and Balungao. Or border restrictions will remain in place according to the orders from each LGU and based on the situation in their areas. In other areas, various accommodation establishments have received bookings and are expecting to receive visitors from outside the province. Travelers from the NCR Plus bubble must register and check the requirements for entry at pangasinan.tarana.ph. They are also encouraged to register at spass.ph for travel coordination permits to the area of destination. Meanwhile, the LGU of Cortes Town in Surigao del Sur has ordered the temporary closure of its tourism site amidst the continuing threat of COVID-19. The temporary closure is in effect from Wednesday, June 9 until June 23. Mayor Josie Bonifacio cited the presence of the South Africa, UK, and P3 or Philippine variants of COVID-19 in the Caraga region, as reported by the Department of Health in Region 13. As of June 5, Cortes has a total of 27 COVID-19 cases with 16 recoveries, 9 active cases, and 2 recorded deaths. The town of Cortes has fine beach resorts regularly visited by foreign and local tourists and the site of the famous Lasuitan Lagoon. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle has been appointed by Pope Francis as a member of the Congregation for the Eastern Churches. The Vatican announced Tagle's appointment through its website on Thursday. Tagle's new role is to help the development and protection of the Oriental Catholic churches and their traditions, alongside the liturgical, disciplinary, and spiritual patrimony of the Latin Rite. Tagle is the current prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of People since 2019. He was also appointed to the administration of the patrimony of the Apostolic See in February 2021. In our news overseas, European Union on Wednesday approved a new travel certificate that will allow people to move freely in time for summer. The green light will allow EU citizens to get a digital health pass to display their vaccination status, results of COVID-19 tests, or whether they have recovered from a coronavirus infection. Several EU countries have already begun using the system, including Bulgaria, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Germany, Greece, and Poland. The certificate will officially come into force on July 1st and will be in place for 12 months. Meantime, Juan Fernando Lopez Aguilar, rapporteur and chair of the European Parliament Civil Liberties Committee, said EU states are encouraged to refrain from imposing further restrictions. In sports, Japan on Wednesday vowed to go ahead with the Tokyo Olympics amid opposition that the world's biggest game should be delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga has told the parliament that he wants Japan to show that the world has overcome the difficulties brought on by the pandemic by uniting. Suga said his government will further reduce the number of Olympic officials, workers, and press members coming in to Japan for the tournament from foreign countries. Japan had earlier planned to allow 180,000 visitors, but that number was halved. On the other hand, the organizers barred international visitors from attending the Tokyo Olympics as part of stricter measures to avoid the spread of infection. Suga also vowed to vaccinate all of Japan's citizens by November. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. The government's vaccination drive gets another boost as 1 million more Sinovac jabs arrive in the country. Over 2 million Pfizer vaccines are also expected to arrive later today. No walk-ins. The country's vaccine czar says LGUs must come up with a master list of vaccinees, as allowing walk-ins may lead to a violation of physical distancing rules in vaccination sites. 46 years of strong ties, President Rodrigo Duterte expresses appreciation over China's timely help amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And Japan stands firm on its decision to push through with the hosting of the Olympics as it races against time to stem a surge in COVID-19 cases. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day.